This is the Twitter account of Tradwest. Hard times create strong men. They love that quote. Gentlemen, it is with great displeasure that I inform you that the soft men are making hard times. So there you go. There's a Tradwest meme for you. Just the same thing you've heard a million times, but now it's coming from the vaunted mouth of a froggy. A healthy reminder, there is no such thing as casual sex. There is nothing casual about sex. Do not give your innocence, purity, dignity, and honor away for momentary pleasure. Save it for your future wife. She is the one who deserves it and will cherish it forever. If you think that sticking your dick in somebody is going to destroy your innocence, your purity, your dignity, and your honor, then you have officially started smoking crack. Christ is king. By his wounds we are healed. I love this just like completely generic religious propaganda that apparently you can get 1.5 thousand likes for in 3 hours, even though it just looks like some shit you'd see on a billboard in Missouri. A lot of people have asked me, hey, where do you do your live streams? And the answer to that is that I do live streams called Abandon Hope every Sunday on the Pessimist Productions Patreon. That is linked down below. There is all sorts of other stuff on that Patreon as well. It is about $7 a month, and I think that we offer a pretty generous amount of content in exchange for that membership. So if that's something that interests you, be sure to check out the Patreon link in the description section of this video. Our society views virginity and commitment in a bad light. Our society is demonic. There is a better way. I don't really feel like maybe our society does view virginity in a bad light, but it kind of always has for as long as I've been around. I feel like virgins are more accepted now than ever. Because when I was growing up, like virgin was synonymous with loser, and I guess to some extent it still is. But it seems like there's more and more acceptance of virginity now than there pretty much ever has been. I don't think anyone views commitment in a bad light. I cannot think of a single thing I've ever seen or heard where someone was like, commitment sucks. And usually when I have seen that, it's been from like these macho types that are extraordinarily pussy whipped by their wives. And so they're basically just saying it as cope. Drop your hardest images in the comments. Satan's place is under the heel of God's servants. And, an angel of the Lord is stomping on Satan's head, I guess. That's supposed to be Satan, I suppose. But if you actually, listen to the lore about Satan, Satan was supposed to have been God's most beautiful angel. And I mean, nothing against male pattern baldness or anything, but this does not look like God's most beautiful angel to me. Really, the angel stabbing him or about to stab him looks more like what I would imagine Satan looking like, or Lucifer, than this guy does. Tradition means giving votes to the most obscure of all classes, our ancestors. It is the democracy of the dead. Tradition refuses to submit to that arrogant oligarchy who merely happen to be walking around. This is the most imbecilic statement I've ever heard in my life, and I'll explain exactly why. The dead are dead. They no longer have to live in this world. Therefore, they deserve no say in its running. Why would we allow a tyranny of the dead to control us? None of them have to live in the here and now. We do. They had their time. They had their moment. It's done. It's our time now. And you know who should decide how it happens? Us. We should get to decide that because we're the ones who have to experience it. Does that make sense? That makes sense. I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. It's got a one-way sign and a beat-up Pepe, and the one-way sign is, of course, pointing to the glowing cross in the distance, because that is the only path that will save this poor Pepe's soul. Which way? This is from Templar Pilled. I support the current thing. I support the opposite of the current thing, but then through the rough, middle, unwalked path, the path to Jesus. How is the path to Jesus the unwalked path? I'm pretty sure that literally billions of people have tread that path before. So, what are we talking about here? Has anyone ever told you that Christ didn't exist? Well, I present to you the Shroud of Turin. Oh my God. The Shroud of fucking... There's a name I haven't heard in quite some time. The Shroud of Turin. You guys familiar with the Shroud of Turin? The Shroud of Turin is basically supposedly the death blanket that Jesus was wrapped in, and it still bears his face upon it for some reason. And the Shroud of Turin has been literally scientifically examined to see if there is any authenticity to it. Guess what? I don't even have to say the rest. You know. Bro dropped this, and it's a crown. 31-year-old man invited 89-year-old neighbor to live with him and spend her last days in company. Okay, I agree with that one. That is very nice. The church belongs to Jesus Christ and is not a laboratory for theologians to experiment, says Pope Benedict. The worst pope, a pope so unpopular he had to retire from the office because no one liked his ratty old ass. But sure. Okay, so here we have a super jacked, super muscular, super impressive Chad among Chads. And of course, he's wearing the cross. And around him is nature and the Bible, and some weights, and some meat and potatoes and milk, and Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. This is a very enlightened man. And over here, we have this skinny, emaciated guy, which is weird because the first thing on top of him is McDonald's. If this dude is a McDonald's addict, he is not going to be skin and bones, okay? He's going to have a quite different figure. He's got Twitch and Pornhub, which... For some reason, even though they used the Prawnhub logo instead of the Pornhub logo, they still felt the need to cross it out. This other thing, I can't even tell what it is because it's crossed out so much. I can't even tell what I'm looking at. And then alcohol. I don't know why some of these things are crossed out and some are not, because apparently they're all bad. They all lead to being the miserable, emaciated, depressed figure. But the depressed figure says, I go to therapy, but nothing helps me. And then the muscular, ripped Wojak says, don't worry, brother. I know some things. And, you know, if someone is depressed and someone who has their life more together wants to clap a muscular hand on their shoulder and take them on as an apprentice, as a pupil, hey, I have my life together, you don't. I would like to help you. I'd like to show you the things that work for me. That's completely 100% fine. I have no objection to that. I don't really see how anyone could have an objection to that. The problem is that, once again, we're just kind of lacking in the nuance department because there's plenty of dudes that eat meat and potatoes and lift weights and read the Bible and all that stuff that are still depressed. Sorry, still depressed. Plenty of dudes that go to McDonald's and drink alcohol and go on Twitch and do all that stuff that are still completely content. I know we want to tell ourselves these lies that, it's all about, this stuff, this superficial external stuff. But once again, I just got to caution you folks. It's not about what's out there. It's about what's in here. It's about what's in here. No amount of things you like will fill the hole. No amount of, earthly pleasures and delights are going to fix what's broken inside of you. Only you can do it. Now, the one thing that might actually help on this list is Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, which is genuinely a good book. Woke memes. Well, I've done the right-wing memes segment long enough to know that there are plenty of right-wing or trad memes that are just as lofty tomes. I also don't understand why a guy that's telling you to read the Bible and Marcus Aurelius is now saying, reading. That's for suckers. Trad memes. Christ is king. Bottom text. Chad Christ, angry devil. So trad memes suck? Is that the point? This is what wealth looks like in 2024. Always has been. And it's, you know, having a family. Look, if you derive joy from being a father or a mother, having a family, have at it. But just don't expect everyone to find their satisfaction in that life, because not everyone does. Plenty of people who are fucking mothers and fathers are fucking miserable. Okay? Okay. What is the most beautiful city in the USA? The most beautiful city that I've ever seen is probably Seattle, Washington. Now, I know that there are places in Seattle that are, you know, destitute and stuff like everywhere else. But overall, extraordinarily beautiful city, extraordinarily beautiful region of the country in general. That would be my vote. I'm spiritual. No, you just smoke weed, and he crossed out weed. You can't even show the word weed. You just smoke weed, collect rocks, and hear voices in your head. Well, you know, at the end of the day, as an atheist, I don't believe that the crystals heal people. I don't believe that lighting candles summons up spirits or does anything particular. I don't know what this stuff is about hearing voices in your head, because I especially don't know why a Christian is bringing that up, because plenty of Christians also hear the voices, just happen to be in a slightly different guise. I also think that the cross has no inherent power to it. I think that Jesus Christ, if he existed at all, was not divine. I think that there almost certainly is no God. So I view both of these religions in much the same regard. I don't view one as being innately superior to the other in terms of truth. I do, however, view one as being vastly superior to the other in terms of morality. And I am going to leave you guessing as to which one. I don't think it'll be that hard. As other European countries apologize for their colonial past, Portugal plans to celebrate theirs. You know, it's funny to me that so many Christians are so infatuated with conquistadors and conquerors, considering that Jesus never really said anything, as far as I know, in favor of conquest. I think you'd be hard-pressed to find the part of the Bible where Jesus tells you to go and use violence to spread his message. I guess the closest thing would be when he says that he came not to bring peace, but a sword. But I don't think that was how that was to be interpreted. I think that Jesus was just trying to say that his teachings are going to be controversial. And I'm sure they were at the time, if indeed he existed in any form. Was feudalism really that bad? There's always corruption in any system, but it seems like everyone got a fair deal, on paper at least. Dude, I mean, you can just look at the enclosed graphical representation of feudalism and see that that's not true. There is a pyramid where a king is on top and a bunch of, like, the peasant class is just on the bottom. Like, there is a rigid social hierarchy that is inescapable. You can't rise from the rank of peasant to the rank of lord. That doesn't happen. You are stuck where you are. There is no social mobility whatsoever. There's no going up. There's no climbing up the ladder. There's no improving your lot in life. You are consigned to wherever you are. That's not a great system. One of the problems with our current system is that it's too much like that. There's not enough ability for people to improve themselves, improve their lot in life. There's almost none. I suppose detractors would claim that being ruled by bloodlines is inherently unfair, but today your rulers are pretty much exclusively those who can, one, make the most money. Yeah, but, I mean, and I hate to I guess it's okay to kind of defend capitalism when I'm responding to someone defending feudalism, right? One of the reasons that capitalism is superior to feudalism is that at least that person made the money. At least they had to do something to make money. Now, far too many people in our system simply inherited it. But at least some of them had to fucking make it some of the time. Somebody somewhere had to make the fucking money. So there's at least that. In this system, you're literally where you are by birthright. And if that place sucks, you're there forever. If it rules, which you'll notice the pyramid doesn't broaden as it gets closer to the top. Wouldn't be much of a pyramid if it did. It gets more and more narrow. So the vast majority of people consigned to a miserable lot in life from which there is no escape, and a select few get to be the ruling class by birthright forever and ever. Not a great system. This is the second of the two things that your rulers now are decided by. Con the most people into voting for them. Sure, but at the end of the day, if we're going to get down to the nitty-gritty of lesser of two evils, I think I would rather be led by the person who was able to con the most people into voting for them than the person who was just born the ruler. You just get to rule everything. And I don't know if you've ever, cracked open a history book or anything, but a lot of these kings, they got up to some pretty nefarious shit. And you know why? Because there was no one there to stop them, because they were born with absolute power. I can't believe any human being would defend this system. I mean, it's just insane. In other words, 21st century America, look, I'll be the first to tell you that I don't think we are nearly as far away from feudalism as we'd like to think. I'd be the first to tell you that we still bear far too many resemblances to this social structure to this day. The things that are different are mostly different for the better. In fact, I can't think of a single thing that was better under overt feudalism than now. Well, I can think of one thing, but it has nothing to do with the fact that there's not an existential threat to humanity looming around every, corner in the term in frame, in the. I mean, I guess there's Black Death, so even that's not true. I was thinking nukes. They lived in a post-nuclear world. I guess that's a good thing. Our system rewards deceivers and con artists. At least being ruled by a noble family meant that your king was trained from birth to rule effectively. Man, the idea that just because they were called nobles, that they were noble, by our modern definition of noble, is pretty ludicrous. Because in many instances, kings and noblemen and lords and ladies were brutal, horrible, nightmarishly evil and cruel people because there was no one to hold them to any account. The difference was the ruling class of the feudal system, kings and lords, actually offered protection to the serfs and needed to act honorably to secure loyalty from their vassals. The ruling class of today mostly extracts from the poor and suffer no consequences if they act. I mean, this is the summarization of what today's society is like is not that far off. But the summarization of what it used to be like, where you're getting like, oh, all this like wonderful protection from the ruling class. If you're playing a game of chess, which is a game that comes from this sort of social arrangement, is it the job of the king to protect the pawns or the job of the pawns to protect the king? I think we all know the answer to that.